Hey, it's Jag, and today we're back to the 2+1 build.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a while since I did the first episode in the 2+1 build where I sort of laid out my ideas and what this series was going to be about. Today I'm actually starting the work on the 2+1 build. I thought I'd start with showing you the two Jagsters that I have and use regularly. Over here we have, this is number one. This is the very first one that was ever built. I think you always should keep number one of everything you make. Number two went to Warren Haynes of Government Mule and the Allman Brothers. And number three I built specifically for a friend of mine in Calgary. Number four was the first combo I built. And really nice curly birch. So I thought I'd start by just opening up these amps and just sort of letting you see what the overall layout is. After I do that, the main thing that I'm doing today is I'm going to make the circuit cards for the two Jagsters. I won't be doing a circuit card for the +1 today because I'm still not exactly sure what I'm going to build there. That said, I'll open up these Jagsters and you can see what's going on with them. Okay, well that's the Jagsters ready to come out of their cabinets. Before I do that, I just thought I'd show you some close-up detail of the cabinets. A friend of mine, Andy O'Kell, did these for me, and in particular the cabinet for the combo is gorgeous. It's curly birch. It looks just great, so I'll show you that. Here's the detail on number one, the head. You can see some it's straight ahead ash, nice open grain, good looking cabinet. There's a shot of what it looks like inside. We'll take that out of there right away. And here's the detail on that curly birch. Yeah, from this angle. So just gorgeous wood that was used to make this cabinet. So I just look at that. I just love the look of this cabinet. So that's number one and number four. All right, well, set up a little tight here, but wanted to give you a good shot of what's going on with these amps. I've got them out of the cabinet now, and I will give you the quick tour. Here's number one. I was actually surprised when I opened this up. I forgot that I had done some modifications to this. So I put in a daughter board in here and converted this to fixed bias. That allows me to get a little more output out of it and have the tones stay a little bit tighter. I also did some other modifications. I made switchable bypass caps for both of the preamp stages, so I can switch them into a low gain or high gain mode, and it changes the tone a little bit. Other than that, you can see the amp is actually very simple. Not a lot of components. There's a lot of space in the cabinet, and I left a lot of space on the circuit card. The reason that I did that is it leaves me some room to modify things, put more eyelets on the circuit card if I want, if I'm going to change things. This one especially was number one, and I was doing a lot of sort of experimenting with it, as you can see. But I've had it this way for about 10 years now, so I don't think it's going to change. And at any rate, that's number one. And here is number four. Essentially the same amp. As I said, that this amp can run a multitude of different output tubes, and I've got a KT66 in this one. This one is cathode biased, so no separate bias supply in it, and you can see the layout of the top. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but for some reason I must have misdrilled when I was drilling the holes for these tubes, and this one's a little bit skewed, and it's a little bit closer to that tube than on number one. I don't recall that happening. It's long enough ago now, but obviously it did, and I normally wouldn't put those tubes quite that close together. But this is the layout. Number one has a blue amp jewel. Red amp jewels are fine, but I just like to sort of personalize them. So number one has a blue amp jewel, and number four has an amber amp jewel. So here's the front panel of Jagster number 4. It's the same on Jagster number 1 or any of the other Jagsters. So we have input, we have gain, so that's basically the preamp volume, treble, middle, bass, and then the master volume control, and our standby and on-off switch, and there's that amber jewel. So as I say in this one, a KT66. Mercury Magnetics Axiom SE 3K output transformer, 4 and 8 ohm windings on that one, and the FTBP 58 power transformer. So a lot of heavy duty iron in this. So that's the shots of the Jagsters. Now it's time to make the circuit cards. So I'm just going to show you my layout here and do a little bit of description of what's going on there and how that works. So here's the layout for the Jagster, and it's scaled out, so it's actually real size. So the card is 2 1/4 inches by 8 1/2 inches. You can use any program basically that you want and are comfortable with to make your layouts. You can use SketchUp. This one I actually did just in Mac Preview, so you can use virtually anything that you want to do your layouts. The important thing is when you're printing out the layout, because you're going to use that, you're going to put that on your card to drill the holes. It's important that your layout is printed out life size or actual size. So when you do your layout, whatever program you do it in, it helps to have a known dimension. Like I say, this card is 8 1/2 inches wide and 2 1/4 inches deep. What you do, you get your layout done. You don't need to be too concerned about how large or small it's going to be. But once you get it done and you have that known dimension, print it out plain. I usually print them out a landscape on letter 8 1/2 by 11. And then what you do is you take that known measurement and you measure what it actually is when you print. So, for example, when I printed this one, this is supposed to be 8 1/2 inches wide for real life. I measured how wide it was, and it was actually quite a bit wider than that. So what you do is you take that measurement that you measure when it printed out, you take what it should be, 8 1/2, and divide it by the amount that it actually is when you printed it out. Then you multiply that result by 100, and that gives you the percentage that you need to scale. Oddly enough, this one worked out. I need to actually scale it exactly 50%. So, like I say, I printed out landscape, standard margins, letter 8 1/2, US letter 8 1/2 by 11. And as long as I remember to scale it to 50%, it comes out exactly right. So here you can see with the ruler, it's exactly 2 1/4, and the width here is exactly 8 1/2. So I know that everything is real size, life size. The important thing about your layout is not only to have a map or an idea where everything goes, but it also helps you to lay it out so that when you're doing wiring, you don't have wires crossed, you don't have connections jumping a long way, or if you're actually making a printed circuit board, you actually can't have certain traces cross each other. That would be a short for a component. So the main reason for doing your layout is that you can put the parts, you can represent the parts, and you can check where all of your circuit paths are going to go and make sure you're not going to create any short circuits or cross any wires that could induce noise from a later stage into an earlier stage and that kind of thing. So as I say, the Jagster is a pretty roomy layout. It's a very simple amp, not a lot of parts, so the layout was very simple, and that's why I'm showing this as an example. What you can see here, this is the preamp side. Input comes in here. everything flows through all the way to here is the output side, and then that goes out to the output tubes. This is essentially the power supply. So we have C1 and R1, C2, R2, C3, R3, 4, C4, R5, C5, C6, and C7, R6, R7, and R8, and C8, 9, and 10. These are the filter caps. These large crosses here, those are where the mounting screws will go through into the standoffs in the chassis. All of these little crosshairs here are where eyelets will go, with the exception of these two. There's a wire that needs to come off from the front panel components and connect to R2, and I just drilled a hole here and here so I could run that wire underneath the board and then back up and make its connection here, just because it looks a little cleaner. I could have just run it across the top of the board, wouldn't be a problem. The way that I generally lay this out is the mounting, the holes for the mounting screws, they're just a little more than 1/8 of an inch from each side. That just sets those screws in enough that they can hold everything down. They don't get in the way of the actual circuit, but they're not so close to the edge that they can break the corner off. Those will be drilled a little larger than 1/8 of an inch hole, so that the screws can just slide right through easily. All of the other holes, so here, 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 I'll point them all out. All of these will be drilled to 1/8 of an inch to allow the eyelets to fit in, and then we'll crimp them in. Once you have your layout printed in its actual size, stick it down with double-sided tape. I'll show you that in a minute. Proof's in the pudding, as they say. The template fit perfectly on the circuit cards, so I'm confident that this is all life size. I also took a punch and just did a little center punch in all of those holes that I have to drill. I also have this little jig I made with scrap MDF, scrap pieces of MDF, just to make it easier to drill consistently. All of these holes are 1/4 of an inch in from this edge, and same on the bottom, they're 1/4 of an inch in. Generally across, I space them usually about 1/2 an inch across, except where two things go to the same turrets or close together, then I go 3/8 of an inch. Not that that matters, there's no rule, that's just the way that I do it. So we're ready to drill here. Of course, I have a couple of holes to drill, a few holes to drill that are not exactly 1/4 of an inch in from the edge, so I will have to freehand drill those on the drill press. That all said, we'll get to the drilling. So the one thing we want to check after we drill the first hole, like I said, the hole for the eyelets needed to be 1/8 of an inch. I just want to check if that's a little tight. We'll just use a slightly larger drill bit, but I like them to kind of fit pretty snug just when you put them in. No, that's perfect. So 1/8 of an inch hole for the eyelets. That went well. All the holes are drilled. So again, this is a template card. So just double checking to make sure I have all of the holes drilled. And it's looking really good. So I can pull off the layout and the double stick tape. And then this will be my drilling template for the circuit cards. So I'll drill out the 2 circuit cards now using this template. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to stack all of the cards and then just drill straight through, so I can do all of them, or do both of them at the same time. Before you take them apart, hold it up to the light. Make sure you can see light through all of the holes. And I missed one here. So glad I didn't take this apart yet. Okay, looking good. Now it's time to stake the eyelets in. To stick the eyelets into the board, you take these little tiny eyelets. There we go. So there's that little eyelet. And you put it in the hole. And then on the bottom of the eyelet, you take this staking tool. It kind of looks like a little transfer punch. And you, with your drill press, you push it down. It bends over the edges, and you have your eyelet staked into the board. The first time I did this, I had the brilliant idea that I could save a bunch of time by putting all of the eyelets in, and then just turning it upside down and going through and staking them in. Of course, I didn't think when I turn them upside down, they're all going to fall out. So what I do is I put all of the eyelets in, then I put a layer of tape over, and then I can turn it over and I can just crimp them all in really quick. So that's what I'm going to do here. You just want to make sure you don't have one so loose that it can fall out. So just double checking all of that right now, and we're looking good there. You can also, do a little tap and see if any of them fall out. So no, that is the eyelet board. So that's eyelet board number 1 done. I'm going to do number 2 off camera, and then the eyelet boards are complete. So that's a little run through of the insides of Jagsters 1 and 4. And the making of the eyelet boards. I hope you found this interesting, informative, and entertaining. Like always, please like and subscribe, ring the bell so you don't miss any other videos I have coming up. I'm doing my Great Guitar Build-Off series at the same time I'm doing this series, so those videos are coming as well. The links for my band One Soul Thrust are below. Please check us out. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you in the next video.